Hello world, this is Zan playing Late Age Calum in Lucid's 2022 Dominions 5 tournament game. We have a crap ton of battles as after that rout at Urfel, when my god Cloud used on top of his home defense army, the floodgates have been open for me to just inundate his land with birds. I also have the situation to deal with of his former army of Ulm marching through my lands now. But that should be taken care of by my Titan, because hopefully he's playing right into my hands. And that hopefully going forward should be the case for most of his movements. They should all be choices given to him of, well, do you want to move into this very predictable province that I want you to stand in, or do you want to lose a fort? So there are no magic phases this turn, but we have our first battle in the Glade Woods where he beats up PD. We have a battle in the Morn Woods where I beat up PD. We have our battle in Waka, where, as predicted, he moves on to my fort with his this is the army. This is some of the army that was in Urfel that had retreated previously. So he moves on to my fort, and my Titan comes in with a move patrol and wipes them out, doing actually more casualties this time than the Cloud Trapeze, because we got a lot of these generals killed, which is good. One general is worth about 4 heavy horse and gold cost. On TienChi itself, we return with another 70 birds and just put it under siege so he can't recruit from there. In Arnbeg, I make a mistake and he does meet some of my birds and kills most of them, which is unfortunate. I think this was led by my prophet, but I think he retreated and survived. Yes, he retreated and survived. Unfortunately, I only killed literally 1 heavy horse because he's using this ancestor guide to summon baby air elementals, the little size 3 ones, and this Ancestor Smith to cast Legions of Steel and such. And the purpose of these tiny air elementals is because my Pretender doesn't have shock resistance and is casting Iron Skin, which gives him shock weakness. And we'll talk more about that later. In Bakoria, he, again, predictably moves his entire army to relieve the siege. Again, air elemental, in case my god showed up, and Legions of Steel from these guys. Unfortunately for him, we have moved on to the Verdant Steppe, cleared out the PD. It's just a palisade, so this is definitely enough to put it under, or to have it be storm able. And then in the Silver Woods, we come in and beat up the Silver Woods, being my old province that he was in before, and we just take it over. Now we get some events. We have the Plague Cult eradicated in Griffin Rock. That's because, again, we put our temple and we found their cult leader and killed him. We get trolls again in the Silver Woods, and then a growth of fertility. This is unfortunate. These stupid trolls, this is the second time they come in the same gosh darn province. It's annoying to the point where I had to look it up. This event can only fire 3 times in 1 game. So we've had 2 of them fire on the same province. It's unfortunate because it wipes out half of my forces. Of the 20 people that I send, 18 got killed by these stupid trolls. And the way it even happened was stupid. So you know, this is worth a watch. Because you would expect, yeah, trolls should win this, but in true Kalian fashion, I'm going to jump to the back. Come on. Jump to the back and snipe their commander. And I have the Ice Clad here in the front to, you know, tank the trolls. Unfortunately, even with the routing penalties to their attack and defense, Kalians have a hard time killing trolls. It takes them a while. Especially because these are my crappy, you know, second wave Kalians with their light lances instead of broadswords. If they had broadswords, this would be a very different fight. But as it is, eventually a lot of my birds just start going down. And this just sucks. It's just horrible. Horrible, horrible, horrible. But that's what I get for taking Misfortune. In Raga, we discover that he has, I think it's 100 PD, exactly. He has these Ziyedin spa beds with their Pendant of Luck. Oh, I thought he had taken a luck left, but that's a lot of spa beds, actually. Like, holy crap. Okay, you're gonna cast Blessing. Oh, apparently he had Adept of the Golden Order, too. Damn, this is a good one. Or Fire. Oh, did he not even cast Blessing? Dang. Well, that's unfortunate. Very unfortunate. I couldn't even see his Bless. Unconquered Warrior. 48 hit points. Size 5. Oh, does the bird die first? Yeah, the bird dies first. Yeah, this would be a great unit. Susceptible to poison. Heat, has a fire shield, goes berserk, firepower. Holy crap, this guy could do work. Wow. So yeah, that's in Raga where he's got his 100 PD set to, I guess, work against. He's being attacked by Pan and Utgard. I don't know how well that PD would do against Garms. Also, don't know why Utgard's all the way over here. That's a weird one. But regardless, no. So now we're back to the strategic map, and this is where the important thing is because now again we get to make our decisions based on where we want TienChi to move. We've got his army up in Valkoria and in Arnbeg. I was not expecting him to move into Arnbeg. That's unfortunate. I was expecting him to move into one of these provinces because, specifically into Urfel. That's where I expected him to move that army because him not doing that means I get to trace income through all of them. Like if he had taken Urfel, I won't get income from these three provinces. I'll just take a free 190, 290, and 330, 340 gold and a bunch of gems. I'll take all that for free just because you moved here instead of here. So great. I mispredicted one move because he literally chose the lesser move. He killed 32 birds, but gave me enough gold to just recruit them again. He did come and sit on top of the Glade Woods. That is this first one with 35. Um, yeah, good for him. I'm glad he did that. I really don't care. And then down here we have Paul Bearer, who is now going to be cloud trapezing onto his army in the Henwood, which means he took the bait to burn down that temple. He took that bait to burn down the temple, and now this army is going to die. My god is going to appear on a lab, which means I can immediately cloud trapeze back to over here, and there's no time lost, which is all in all pretty cool. So what we do now is we're going to send all of our armies into Erebon to relieve this fortress, or to siege this fortress. And this would almost work. The problem is because he does have this army here in Armbug instead of Urfel, that means he can move here the turn after into the Morn Woods. What even is in here? 24. He can move here into the Morn Woods, and maybe group it up with here from Saran Forest, and then come relieve Arnbeg. Or what is this? Erebon. He can come and relieve Erebon, which means I might not be able to siege this down this turn. I might have to do another loop where I threaten his north, get his armies to move north, and then come back down to take this. In the meantime, this is dead. This is mine. He can't reach, or rather, this army that's here in Arnbeg, he can reach Erebon, or the Verdant Steppe. He can reach the Verdant Steppe from Arnbeg because of this road. This tiny little road there. But he can only do so with map move 14, because I have loaded up a test map of the same exact map and his nation, and I want to see where he can get to. So he can make it to the Verdant Steppe from here, but this is important. And again, this plays into the crap that I had to deal with playing with TienChi that I absolutely hated. These old men and their crap map move. So this guy's taken Unaging and Enlarge to give them some amount of map move, but still this guy, between his armor and the old age, he is map move 12. This guy is map move 14, and the cavalry are map move 14, which means if he abandons this Ancestor Smith, he can get there this turn. But if he holds the Ancestor Smith, he can only move into one of these provinces. So I'm taking the bet that my 160 Raptors would be able to beat his 24 Horsemen if he doesn't have an Archmage. So I'm taking that bet. And it doesn't matter if he's going to bring in that Air Mage casting Air Elementals. I have enough mass that a baby Air Elemental will get killed regardless. And then just in case, I do have some amount of Spirehorn Warriors. At some point soon, yeah, I start recruiting. I say, okay, if you're going to start dropping baby Air Elementals, Spirehorn Warriors just completely counter them. They're shock resistant, they have magic weapons. They are size 3, so they can't even be trampled. It's dumb. So I'm just going to start recruiting them. And it's like, okay, well, you can spend your mage turn summoning size 3 elementals. I'll just recruit this unit that is otherwise just as good as my other units and completely mitigate that strategy of yours. That being said, I'm assuming in Saran Forest, he's going to move out to the Morn Woods. So I'm just going to ping it because earlier in this fight, I had a scouting report that he had a lot of province defense here. I thought he had like a big PD dump. So I just want to go ping it and see what's in there. But for the most part, this turn, I'm not really taking anything. Just because I want to storm this fort. Because, you know, these land provinces, I can take them and then he can retake them. But his forts are a little bit more difficult because of a bunch of birds with stupid amount of siege defense compared to, you know, regular units, especially versus cavalry. So my goal is really, like, raiding his territory. I could raid his territory. That doesn't matter. I want to take his forts. So this turn, we get Balcoria, and we wipe out his army in the Henwood. And that'll be most of turn 24. I don't think I have anything else in my notes for this turn. Nope. So we can go on to turn 25. So turn 25, we do as we mentioned, where we jump into the Henwood. Now, there is a little bit of risk of there having been a lab here, and he does follow up with it. You see these generals here in the front do have great swords of sharpness. Unfortunately, because he wants them to interrupt my script, he didn't hold them back to get hit by Strength of Giants. And on top of that, great swords of sharpness are something that I kind of foresaw. Oh, excuse me. Are something that I kind of foresaw as the easiest counter TienChi can do against my Titan. The problem he's going to run into is that they have an attack skill of 17, and I have a defense skill of 29. On top of that, I have my Fear Helmet to lower their morale and make it easier to repel them with these stone birds. So, kind of saw this coming. What I still hadn't clicked for me yet was the air elemental thing, and not so much that it hasn't clicked for me, it's more of they also have to deal with my defense skill. So it's like an awkward one, but the issue was if the air elemental did get one good hit in, because I'm susceptible to shock, I will be stunned for a very long time. And then if I get stunned, I get hit by these great swords, and that's no good for anybody involved. Like, you see how this one got there perfectly. He ended up behind me. Luckily for me, his morale is now crap because of my fear aura, and his magic resistance is naturally crap, so he gets hit by the Divine Shield. And then this just becomes the same thing over again, where I bonked his army to death. One funny thing, too, about elementals, although they're good against regular weapons, the Stone Bird itself, because it has so many attacks, they're all magical. If they all hit, they can kill air elementals fairly quickly, or any elemental, really, just because each attack will go through a form, or at least do some damage that might go through a form. So end result is this army is completely wiped off the map, because even if they retreat, since I own the surrounding provinces during the magic phase, they are all gone. Whoever retreated died in the retreat, which is cool. We found another magic site in Weka, the Cave of Dark Rites, and then we proceed to our regular battles, where he now just retakes some of the empty provinces around me. We siege his fortress, and we won the bet that my army, with no mage support, would be able to beat his army with air mage support, but not with earth mage. Because again, he didn't build labs in his forts, so I can safely assume that his forts don't have mages in them. It's crazy to think that. What he did do was summon Blackhawks into his fort, and because this happened now, this means that these Blackhawks came from somewhere else. Which is funny because this player has been posting his army graphs, where even after huge defeats, where he loses 80 to 100 heavy horse, his army graph is going up. And now we see why. It's not because he's making more heavy horse than he's losing, it's because he's summoning Blackhawks and militia to get his graphs up to fuel his propaganda machine. And I think that's absolutely hilarious. Like, that is some commitment to this kind of garbage. Like, I'm impressed. Regardless, we win this fight and completely wipe him out there. In Arfel, he's still taking his forces, and in the Saran Forest, I ping and find out that, okay, my scouting report sucked, it's still just 20 PD. Then we just go into the fort. It has 40 more Great Hawks in it. So he had 40 out here, and then he have 40 more in there. Like, he's just literally pumping up his graphs. It's hilarious. Like, you really have to applaud the commitment to having, you know, the PR to just post your graphs every turn after huge defeats and say, oh yeah, they're still going up, and then it's actually just because you're summoning Blackhawks and recruiting militia. That's hilarious to me. Anyways, we go to Calum where we find out that he is casting Blight everywhere to get my unrest up, kill some population, and steal some of my gold. Kind of sucks. At this point, this sucks too, where in the Pepper Plain we have the Necromancer come back. This event is not supposed to fire if you have over 17 PD. I don't know why it fired anyways, but we have to deal with it now because if we let it simmer, this gets significantly worse. So this is just going to beat up my province defense. But as you can see, I'm getting all of my reinforcements and sending in an army. You know, a good-sized army of about 80 birds, and then my prophet himself, which thankfully had retreated off the TienChi capital. They're all going to come here and work on these skeletons. We're also bringing one of my cap-only mages to cast Strength of Giants, so that it's easier to kill the whites. Also kind of convenient that I had been recruiting Spirehorns, because the cold aura of the whites are actually something to worry about, because they're super heavy infantry with cold auras. They're really good, actually. They don't get summoned often because they're really expensive to summon. 20 death gems for 5. That's a tough sell. They're really good. It's just that's expensive. Regardless, looking at my homelands, we now have the pallbearer in the Henwood on a lab, ready to cloud trees again into Urfel, where he looks to have a giant army of his own again. So he literally made the same mistake twice. But regardless, we're going to go back that way, and we have swapped out the Stonebird for a Ring of Tamed Lightning, just because, although it is unlikely his Air Elemental hits me, if an Air Elemental does land a hit on me, I think my Titan will just die due to getting critical hit while stunned. So I'd rather just go from unlikely to impossible by giving him 15 shock resistance. Obviously, we lose the Stonebird, so we can no longer repel, so it's easier for other things to hit me. But I'm fairly confident that, for the most part, whatever TienChi can do, he's going to have a hard time chewing through this guy, especially if I keep him in these border provinces. So that being said, we've successfully taken the Verdant Steppe. I'm predicting this move in the Troll Peaks is going to move onto the Verdant Steppe and try to siege it, because it's just a palisade. But I'm leaving behind the stealth flyers, because in a pinch, if the fort is under siege, I can stealth them out. So they don't get locked into this fort. Like, he doesn't eliminate the threat of these 50 units by sitting on my fort. I can always just stealth them out and attack wherever. But it does make it so that if he moves this heavy cav, he needs at least 50 heavy cav just to match these guys. Actually, I think he needs more. They have strength 11, so he needs more than 50. He needs 60 heavy cav just to match the siege defense of these 50. In the meantime, we're going to get the rest of the army and return to Valcoria. I won't be able to take Valcoria with this army that's going in. It's definitely not enough to break it. But what it's going to do is it's going to get the army in Troll Peaks and the army in Mornwoods, because their next move, again, both of these armies are going to sit on these forts next turn. That's why I'm evacuating. But now their move is going to be to meet up in Arnbeg and go save Valcoria. So all I have to do is get the armies that are here and just move them around his land, raid his stuff, and make sure again that I trace income to make this raiding worth it. Because again, you can always raid any nation you're playing. You can raid people, and that's fine. You can do a thing called deep raiding, which is what I'm doing, and that's fine. But what makes raiding and deep raiding worth it is you getting money from it. I can deep raid with almost impunity right now because I do have this fort, and this fort can trace income. But if I didn't have this fort, we'll pretend I don't have this fort. If you notice the rest of my movements, I'm hitting Urfel with my god. I'm hitting Gerthug, I'm hitting Arnbeg, I'm hitting Valcoria. All of these have a way to trace income back. Even all the way in Valcoria, I'm going to be able to trace income back to Waka or to the Glade Woods, so that all of these provinces I'm taking give me money. So it costs 10 gold per bird. Like you see, this one doesn't give me money. Or Erebon doesn't give me money. But this was a mistake because he moved his army here. Otherwise, Erebon should have been a province this turn that I storm. But because he's sending this here through the Mornwoods, I don't think I can beat this due to the Ancestor Smiths. So it's fine. We're just going to do another loop around his country, raid all his undefended provinces, while he relieves the sieges on his forts, because I mean, it makes sense to think that this army can threaten this fort. That's good. And then here he has to make the move from Mornwoods to Erebon because he risks me storming it and taking another one of his forts if he doesn't. And this importantly gives me the border that I should be watching around over here with Lady Satis. And this is the extent of his territory. That's it. There's no more, which is good. So at this point, it's just a matter of bringing everyone back to the front lines, keep recruiting mages out of every fort, keep researching. We're still going for that Alteration 6 plan. In case this goes long and I need to start dropping these Harab Elders to, again, if I had Alteration 6 right now, I can drop an Elder on each of his armies right now and wipe them all out. I don't have to just do it with this guy. Technically, and again, to the counter argument of Alteration 6, technically, if I had Conjuration 5, I can do that with these guys as well, summoning big air elementals. But I'm not the biggest fan of that tactic because, again, it uses a lot of mage turns, not only to get the mage there, especially if you cloud trapeze them, but then also to summon the air elementals, which then start using your air gems. Not the biggest fan of that. It's very expensive, and maybe early age and middle age Caleb can afford it, but in the late age, you only get one air gem per turn out of your capital. I think middle age gets 3 and early age gets 4. So it's just, I don't think it's a thing that you can do efficiently, especially not in the late age. In early age, maybe it's better, or it's easier because you can get a lot more gems to do shit with. But in the late age, you have to be more careful with that stuff. But yeah, that's most of turn 25. Let me go review my notes if I have anything fancy I needed to mention about it. No, that's pretty much it. So I think we're good to turn 25, and the next is turn 26, but we're at 22 minutes in. So I think we're going to call it here, and I'll see you guys next time.